Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back and learning something from me today. I'm going to be talking about whether or not you should be tracking all of your macros, which is protein, carbs, and fats, or just your calories and protein. If you guys know Greg Doucette, he's a pretty big YouTuber, around 500K subs. He always talks about not tracking macros and just tracking calories and protein, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to talk about that and see if you should be doing that or tracking all of your macros and give you my whole take on it and what would be optimal for fat loss, muscle gain, and all that. So both of these methods have to obey the laws of thermodynamics. So we have to be in a caloric deficit if we want to lose fat and weight in general. There's no way around it. Both methods have to obey that. So tracking calories and protein, you can still put yourself in a caloric deficit. And if you're tracking all your macros, you still have to put yourself in a caloric deficit. If not, you're not going to be losing fat or weight. So that has to be done for both, no matter what, okay? So both of them can do that. So first, I want to talk about just tracking your calories and protein. So if you're just tracking your calories and protein, you can still make sure you're in a caloric deficit because you're tracking your calories, right? And you're going to lose weight and some fat. And tracking your protein is the most optimal thing you can do because you want to make sure you're maintaining as much muscle as possible. Also, protein is very, very thermogenic and very filling. So by far the most important macronutrient in terms of building muscle, maintaining it in a caloric deficit. Now, is just saying screw it to your carb and fat macros the most optimal thing you could be doing? No, not at all. I'll explain why. So if you just give an unexperienced lifter the advice, so just go track your calories and your protein intake, that will lose weight. You're going to lose weight if you're in a caloric deficit, no matter what. But your workouts may be trash if you're not getting enough carbs. Okay, this new lifter doesn't really know how many carbs are in certain foods. So if you're just tracking calories, you could actually just end up eating so much more fat and super low carbs. And you're probably wondering, why are my workouts so trash? Because you're not getting enough carbs and you don't really know what foods have high carbs in them. So that's a big issue. And if your workouts are suffering, you're not having good workouts, you're not able to maintain your strength, you will be losing a lot more muscle, okay? So a caloric deficit results in weight loss. We want to make sure we're mostly losing fat. And as a beginner, you don't really need to worry that much about muscle loss because you can probably gain some in a deficit. But if you're more advanced, you don't want to just say screw it to your carbs, because if you just eat very low carbs and your workouts are trash, you can't maintain your strength, you can't even just have a good workout, your performance goes down and you are just not going to maintain as much muscle as you would if you were getting enough carbs in and having a lot better workouts. You're still going to lose weight, but the composition of the weight is going to be different if you're not getting in enough carbs, unless you're on keto, but keto is still not optimal for maintaining muscle. That's a whole different video. But if you just get no carbs, your workout sucks, you're not going to be maintaining as much muscle as if you're getting a lot more carbs and having a lot better workouts to maintain your strength and your muscle. Also, it could go the other way. You could be getting in way too many carbs, which is more common, and then very little fats. Okay, fats are a very essential macronutrient. You need to get them through your diet. Carbs are not essential. That's a whole nother video as well. But fats are essential and you need to get them through your diet. So what if you just eat almost no fat, under 10 grams of fat a day? That is not healthy at all. You will start feeling the side effects of that, okay? Trust me, I've done that before. You do not feel good at all. You need to make sure you're getting in a baseline level of fat. And if you've never had experience tracking any of your macros, you don't know what foods have more fat in them and whatnot, and you end up getting no fat, you will feel like absolute shit. And that's going to impact your workouts as well if you're not feeling good, and it'll impact your everyday life if you're not getting enough fats. It's just really unhealthy. You need to make sure you're getting a baseline. But tell that to an unexperienced tracker, and they might not know what foods have high fat in them, and that could be a huge problem as well. And advocates of just tracking your calories and protein, like Greg Doucette, they would probably argue that you have to make sure you're getting in a baseline, you have to calculate it out before and make sure you're getting a baseline of carbs and fats. Okay, but tell that to someone who's never tracked before and they won't really know what to do. They don't really know how many fats and carbs are in certain foods, and that's going to be pretty difficult for them. So if you are brand new to calorie tracking and macro tracking, I do not recommend just tracking your calories and protein. Why? Because you want to understand the composition and breakdown of macronutrients in certain foods. It's a really important skill to develop. And then later on, after you've developed the skill and you've learned what foods are made up of, carbs, fats, proteins, the majority of them and whatnot, you develop the skill and in your head. So later on you can use just track calories and protein, because you're gonna have an idea if you're getting enough fat or not based on what you're eating, because you know like peanut butter has high fat, for example, like you would know that in your head. But if you've never done that before, you won't know that freaking peanut butter has high fat, or just, you know, you might, but another example, like it doesn't matter. You might not know what foods and you're just getting in super low of either carbs or fats, and that can, both of them, both low amounts of each could be an issue in their own ways, and therefore make you lose more muscle if your gym performance goes to trash. Just tracking your calories and protein is not wrong at all. Those are the two most important things. A caloric deficit is a requirement for weight loss and fat loss, and you want to make sure you're getting enough protein. Yes, you're still going to lose weight, okay, but you're going to be at risk for losing more muscle, especially an unexperienced tracker. Like for Greg Doucette and those guys who are very experienced trackers, perfectly fine. Just track your calories and protein, that's the most important, and he probably knows if he's getting enough carbs and fats, yes. But an unexperienced tracker, I do not think so, and I do not think that's optimal. You want to develop that nice tracking skill for tracking all your macros, learning foods and whatnot, and it's just a really good skill to have. And I highly recommend you track your macros if you just are starting out tracking, okay? If you're just brand new, track your macros, carbs, protein, and fats, to learn this new skill, learn foods and all that stuff. And as I see it, if you're going to track something, why not track it all? Okay, you're already tracking macros pretty much. If you're tracking protein and calories, you're still tracking in a way. You still have to put it into MyFitnessPal and whatnot, okay? Like you still have to do that, and you're already tracking protein. Why not just track carbs and fats to make sure you're getting in enough fats for optimal health and enough carbs for optimal workout performance? I just see it like that. If you want to do it, go full out and do it. Don't just half-ass it and do the minimum, do it all. But I do think tracking protein and calories has its place, okay? So when I'm bulking in a small caloric surplus, I usually just focus on my overall caloric intake and my protein intake. I don't weigh out everything, because I don't recommend you do that 365 days a year. If you have a fat loss phase you want to go in, I recommend tracking everything and weighing everything out. For if you want to lose a significant amount of weight, sure. If you just want to lose that first 10 pounds, I have a video I'm going to link in the cards here. Just follow these tips and you will probably be able to do that without tracking calories really. But if you want to see significant weight loss and get pretty lean, pretty low body fat, you're going to have to track your macros. But I don't recommend you do that year round, and that's just not sustainable for the average person, or anyone really, like who wants to do that and be so obsessed with every single macro they're putting in their body. So to summarize it all, I do not think beginners should just track their calories and protein, okay? Although those are the most important for body composition, you can't just ignore your carbs and fats. Like the ratios of carbs and fats don't matter for weight loss and fat loss. Well, they can matter for holding on to muscle and gaining it if your workout performance suffers from not getting enough carbs and overall health suffers from not getting enough fats. So beginners may have a deficiency in one of those macros and just way high on the other if they don't know what they're doing. So I highly recommend, at least for your first fat loss phase, whatever, you should be tracking all of your macros, protein, carbs, and fats. And the way I see it, if you're gonna do it all. Don't just do calories and protein. If you want to see the best progress you can make, I would recommend tracking protein, carbs, and fats. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I also wanted to mention my beginner's hypertrophy program is going to be released in a few weeks, I'm hoping, so please keep an eye out for it. It's insanely detailed and you will make insane progress on it. I put so much work into this program and I'm just so excited to release it, so keep an eye out for it. It will be great if you're just starting out, and I will give you more detail when I release it as well. So thank you so much for watching guys, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.